Hello. So I've played a lot of Overwatch, probably about, I don't know, 500 hours maybe. I started when the game came out, and it was actually a big part of helping my wife and I, well, then my girlfriend, stay in touch while she was writing up her PhD and we were long distance, super busy. So we played Overwatch in the evenings when we couldn't see each other as often and hung out together, and it was important. And we've kind of kept it going since then. So I've played a reasonable amount of it. It means a fair amount to me. And I'm kind of sad that it's, now gone away and been replaced by Overwatch 2. So for those unaware, Blizzard have been working on Overwatch 2 for a long time, years since they announced it. And there was originally a plan where Overwatch 2 would have a bunch of PvE stuff, where you play co-op against, NPC enemies. And all of the multiplayer stuff would get kind of backported to Overwatch 1 and the two would cross over. So you could keep playing Overwatch 1 while having the new heroes and other content for Overwatch 2. But you would buy Overwatch 2 for like the co-op stuff. That ended up not happening, and they've made Overwatch 2 free to play and just gotten rid of Overwatch 1 entirely. This has not been met with particularly glowing reactions from the community, including me, because, I bought Overwatch and now it's gone away. Yes, I got my money's worth from it, certainly. But nonetheless, it feels a bit rough to have something just taken away from me, something that I consider an important part of my life. And Overwatch 2 has all this free-to-play nonsense where you don't necessarily get all the heroes when they're added. You have to unlock them, and there's battle passes and stuff. And I'm an old man. I just want to play the games. I have time for a certain amount of free-to-play stuff in my life, but I was disappointed that Overwatch 2 added some. That said, I think what they've actually changed in Overwatch 2 is quite interesting. I think the game is different in a mostly positive way, but I'm interested to see how it shakes out. And I think that some of the critiques it's received as not improving anything compared to Overwatch 1 are somewhat, in my opinion, somewhat disingenuous, but also inaccurate. I think that Overwatch 1 had a lot more holes than were at first apparent when it launched. And a lot of people are very nostalgic for that period. So I wanted to have a look at it, give some opinions, some thoughts. This is based on maybe, 8 hours of play-ish. Before I continue, a disclaimer. Blizzard Entertainment Incorporated, or Activision Blizzard, whatever they're called, are still embroiled in a large number of lawsuits and other cases to do with persistent cultures of sexual harassment and mistreatment of minorities at the company over a period of many years. They don't seem to have improved much. Now, from what I know, apparently these issues were not present to the same extent in the folks that made Overwatch, or Hearthstone for that matter. I guess it was mostly on the old guard World of Warcraft team. However, they're all still part of the same company, still headed by the same person, Bobby Kotick, who is, of course, desperately complicit in all of this. And I do not personally intend to give them my money until I've seen some substantial positive change. This isn't to judge anybody who does. If the world is hard, if spending money on a game makes you happier, you can do it. And realistically, if you try and buy games from companies who only act ethically, you will only buy games from companies you haven't heard the bad news from yet, for the most part. But I wanted to put that in because obviously I tend to call this stuff out in my videos. Blizzard is no exception, and if that is something that would be a barrier to playing this game, which is entirely reasonable in my opinion, then there you go. There's your information. For me, the reason I still play Overwatch and Hearthstone is the games mean too much to me personally and are too big a part of my life over the last years for me to put them down. So on ethical grounds, I cannot endorse Blizzard Entertainment, the company, but I do like Overwatch. So bear that in mind. So, the main thing they changed in Overwatch 2 is there's now 5 players on a side instead of 6. Tank heroes are much beefier, but you only get one of them. I'm going to attempt to play some tank, and we're going to see how this goes. The broad strokes, or my first impressions of the changes, is that Overwatch 2 is much more chaotic. So in addition to reducing the number of tanks from 2 to 1, they put tanks per team, I should say. They also reduced some of the tank's abilities to just stand there and be a shield. Orisa, the most kind of bunkery static tank, no longer has a barrier. She has a cooldown ability that can absorb damage for a few seconds, but that's it. So this makes the game much more open in the sense that there are lots more fire lines and lots more ability for accurate DPS heroes to get picks through the enemy team because there aren't shields blocking snipers anymore, or not nearly to the same extent. And the gameplay is very, very scrappy as a result. I think the new maps lean into this very well, but a lot of the older maps and older heroes feel like they need some adjustment. Right now, I think because everyone is new to it, myself included, obviously I've got a good amount of hours in Overwatch 1, but Overwatch 2 is very different. Everything's a total mess, really scrappy, especially in solo queue. Like, people, if you manage to stand in the same place as your teammates, then you'll probably win the next fight. And then afterwards, the moment anything goes wrong, you'll probably break apart and trickle in for the next 5 minutes and then probably lose. The way I see the game playing now is actually much more like a MOBA than its previous incarnation. I think, I have no idea what this map is, I don't remember. Orisa and Junker Queen are the two heroes I think most epitomize the game's new playstyle. Orisa was in the first game, so I'm going to play her in case you have played the first game, which is pretty likely if you're watching this video, I imagine. So you can see how she's changed. So Orisa, for those unaware, is a bulky tank hero. She's a large health pool, a large hitbox. She has a very big gun that shoots for extended periods of time with a long range. It's not super accurate. The projectiles travel fairly slowly, but you can spray and pray into fights. It used to have a very long reload and a large clip, and now it has like a heat meter. So you just need to let it feather off. You can see the meter to the side of my crosshair there. But look at the ceiling, it's more visible. And if you shoot too much, it will overheat and you can't attack for a bit. So you used to be able to throw a barrier on the ground, a shield that would absorb 800 damage on a cooldown of, I think it was 8 seconds. She can't do that anymore. But she still has her other defensive ability called Fortify, where she takes less damage and becomes immune to stuns and other crowd control effects. Oh, it's this map. So my job here is to frontline. We've got enemies sort of spread around. We're trying to get to over there. So I can block damage like this, but only for a moment. I need some healing. And then Orisa's other ability is this javelin throw, which I think I missed. I am getting massively pinned down here. Let's try and find a different approach. There is a health pack in that corner. Who are our healers? We've got Lucio and Ana. Right. There we go, let's take a flank. See how this works out for us. Oh, God. So in Overwatch 1, Orisa was a completely static hero. Her thing was basically defining battle lines. Like, she would stand in a place, stand in a place, plonk the barrier down, start shooting. She was also moved slowly when she shot, which the new one doesn't. And eventually she would, if the barrier broke, she'd just put another one down. And the enemy team would generally have to go around that. So you could park her in a choke and force them to find some alternative awkward route, potentially getting picked off. Where are we going to go? Where's my team? Taking the high ground. That sounds good to me. New Orisa is a brawler. She's all about getting in the enemy's face. She can pressure from a distance, right? She's reasonably good at just trading in sort of long-distance poke wars, thanks to the long range on the weapon. But ultimately, she wants to be doing this, basically pressing W and running at the enemy. Her new defensive ability, you can like push enemies away as well as blocking bullets and deal damage to them, so you can like juggle people with it a little bit. Run this enemy down with it. I can't tell if we're doing well or not. Go away, Hog. I'm dying. My team needs to go and stand on the point, and we're having trouble doing so. This is definitely something I found with Overwatch 2 as well. The maps... Overwatch 1 had a lot of maps where you just have to go and stand in a place for a thing to happen. I guess that productively describes every map in this game as well, but basically ones where there's like a static area on the map that you need to capture. And broadly speaking, the use of shields and flank routes would determine the success of that. Overwatch 2, I think, partly because everyone's still new to it, feels so much more scrappy. You just kind of run into the teeth of bullets for extended periods of time and hope not to die, you know? Speaking of dying... Ooh, I'm on 25 HP. Let's go! This Junkrat wants me, but I'm going to run away. Oh, I was expecting them to come around the corner there. Where are my supports? There's one. Also due to the lack of shields, supports in Overwatch 2 are way more important, but also way more vulnerable. So you... Oh, God. That was my fault. You are constantly taking damage in Overwatch 2. Like, there's 2 tanks that have barriers, one of which has kind of a crappy barrier, the other of which is Reinhardt, who can hold the barrier up in front of him. But even he feels awkward now. Oh, that was the wrong button. In the new world. Oh, I like this. This is good. Oh, that absorbs that. Nice. Can I stun her out of... I missed. Arisa's spear throw thing apparently, like, interrupts people's abilities, but I haven't seen it work myself. Oh. I hold my lack of aim. Oh, they're all standing over there, so we can stand over here. That seems like a much better idea. Why don't we defend the point instead of them? Go away, Hog. Oh no, I'm dead. That ability is really dangerous if you get caught in a corner. It pushes you away, but if you're in a corner, you'll just get pushed into the corner and die. Alright, we need to get to the point ASAP, because otherwise we're about to lose. Which I suspect may happen regardless. Oh no. Okay, we're fine. Come on. This makes me faster. No! Didn't make it in time. Alright, well. I have had a fair amount of this type of game in Overwatch 2. But again, I think part of it is just due to players being, you know, less experienced with the new flow of it. Like, there's just bullets everywhere, and people don't know the maps yet. I don't know where to take cover on this map. I've played it like twice, and never as attacker. So it's a little difficult to figure out what you're supposed to be doing and when. And I've played with one other person and with 2 other people, and it's definitely easier to coordinate when you've got a couple of folks in voice chat who can at least, you know, back each other up with healing and things. Peeling flankers off you. So as you can see, that was very chaotic. And Overwatch 1 was much more steady. Like, the game still felt messy sometimes, especially if you were watching pro players and they've got like camera perspective on some teleporting damage dealing hero. And it was just mania left, right, and center. But the new game feels like that all the time. Because you don't have the same, like, here is our front line, here is our shield, we're behind this shield, and we're going to try and march it towards the enemy, or through the choke point, or around the choke point. I think that also leads to fewer stalemates. A friend of mine made a good point that you just don't have these kind of stare downs where, like, neither team can break through each other's bunker, so the defender just kind of wins slowly. Or situations where you try to attack and you can't do anything because they're so bunkered up. That doesn't happen very much in Overwatch 2, which is good. You know, that's for the best. I think that makes a positive difference to the game. I would say the queue times are long because tank is quite a popular role at the moment, and there's only one slot for it. The queue times are faster if you pick more roles. I'm just playing tank because I want to show off tank and talk in the meantime. I mentioned earlier that Overwatch 2 is more like a MOBA, and I think that a big part of that is, so in Dota, I play offlane, which is a role where you are some kind of high health, chunky initiator who's going to go in first, distract the enemy, try and pull their attention onto yourself. You don't deal that much damage, but you're still threatening, so they kind of can't completely ignore you. Or maybe you have like a stun ability or something so that you can interfere with them, like you can make them unable to do anything if they ignore you. And I feel like Overwatch 2 is much more like that. I think in Overwatch 1, it was more like an MMO. I haven't played much World of Warcraft, but here's my understanding of the Holy Trinity, the tank, DPS, healer trinity in World of Warcraft. Tanks pull all aggro onto themselves, protecting their teammates who will otherwise just die if the boss gets to attack them. Healers are just healing, just constantly healing, and standing at the back, and then DPSs are doing as much damage as possible. And ideally, if all goes well, the tank will just protect, just absorb everything, and the other members of the team can do their jobs. I'm going to play some Junker Queen now, because she's very fun. In Overwatch 1, tanking was like that. Your barrier was by far the highest health thing that existed, right? Normal heroes have like 200 HP in Overwatch. In Overwatch 1, a tank was like 400, 450. In Overwatch 2, they're about 600 for the most part. Junker Queen's only 425, but she heals herself all the time and can temporarily boost her HP, so it's more in practice. So you would put up these big shield walls that your opponent just couldn't efficiently clear, and your team would hide behind them, or unless they wanted to deliberately flank or position more aggressively. And that was that, right? That was kind of how fighting went in Overwatch. Even at the higher level, I think they would still, they would go together to a high ground position or an otherwise good attacking position. Shields in the front, make your battle lines, push up behind the battle lines, absorb enemy fire. In Overwatch 2, you can't do that, and so tanking in Overwatch 2 is much more about causing chaos, trying to threaten enemies enough that they have to respond to you, and sustaining yourself through drawn-out, brawly fights. So Junker Queen is a really good example of that. She's the new tank hero in this game. She's much more potent at killing people than I think tanks ever really were in Overwatch 1. And most of her abilities apply like a damage over time effect to the enemy that heals them. I'm getting shot from behind somewhere. Oh, okay. So her job is to be up in the front, hitting people, dealing tons of damage, and sustaining herself off that. And so basically, you can't ignore her because she hits hard, and if you just sort of try and trade with her or tickle her, it won't work either because she heals herself. Did I hit that? Yeah, good. She's done. She wins most 1v1s pretty effectively because of that as well. Like a high HP pool plus self-healing plus high burst damage cooldowns make for strong dueling heroes. I'm just going to run at this Bastion. Like, I can't really do anything about it from that position. I also think Junker Queen is probably the most fun hero in the game for me right now. Mostly because I get to be a tank and kill people at the same time. It's great. Without really needing to aim either. Like, she has a shotgun and a bunch of, like, melee type attacks. And one kind of skill shotty knife throw ability. Yeah, that was a bit of a waste of my shout there. There we go. And it's funny playing heroes like this, and then going back to the older heroes, the staples of Overwatch 1. Most of the heroes haven't changed that much. The numbers have been tweaked. They've maybe had one different ability. A lot of heroes have received no changes at all. They don't necessarily have to, but some of them feel very outdated now, like Junkrat his whole thing is destroying shields. There aren't shields. So an inaccurate high damage hero feels pretty useless now. Which is a shame, so I enjoy playing Junkrat. He's one of my favorite DPS heroes. Someone's in there. That's Sigma. Oh, the Sigma's switched off. That's good. Probably because they kept going in aggressively and dying without their team. Like that. Where's that? Oh, there are people behind us. Look at that. Get back here. I do find a lot more people staying in like different positions as well. It's kind of a good thing in the sense that people get more out of the map. Ooh. Just need to focus for a second on him dying. Wonder if I can get a good. No. Ooh. Scarecrow. I mean, if the Bastion wants to come down here where I can kill them, that works fine by me. Hopefully this Sigma move. I'll block that, mate. I think he's fine. Right, I'm very far away from where I'm actually supposed to be, which is this car that I'm pushing to the other end of the map. Hello. No idea where that's going. Goodbye. Zero slaps. Again. Oh, they're up there. I was like, I swear I heard something. Oh, it's Sigma. Nice of you to join us. Junker Queen's little knife throw, this right click. When you recall it, it pulls people towards you, which is quite nice. So that's how I got Sigma down off the high ground on purpose. They didn't walk off by themselves. This is where I'm kind of at my worst, because the enemy team are far away and there's a big gap. But I have my ultimate ready, which will allow me to sort of charge across the distance. This might be a bit greedy, because I think my team might not be there, but we'll see how much havoc I can cause. Never mind, it worked. All I need to do is make a big mess and let my team clean up. Job done. Love to see it. GG in the chat. Forgot to do that last time. Always GG. Give my healers some gratitude as well. I mentioned the supports being more required, more necessary, and more vulnerable. In fact, you press change roll and you have to press change roll again to unready and then do it is really annoying. So I'm going to play a support game and we'll also get to play the new support hero, Kiriko. Show her off. This is probably going to be a shorter queue, but because supports can now more easily be reached or pressured by DPS heroes, they are much more fragile, but because everybody is constantly taking damage because there are no shields, then supports are also much more valuable and much more needed, even more so than before. I think previously, I mean, you can always hide behind walls. That's the secret, right? But ultimately, the game mechanics will force you to leave the safety of your cover and move towards the enemy in order to fight them, in order to get on the point or push the cart or whatever. And so, damn it, the other person picked Kiriko first. Never mind. Let's play something else. I feel like Moira is quite well suited to the new world. So, Kiriko is the new healer, she has a kind of slow projectile heal that homes in. So she can heal from a distance, but you have to kind of prime it by, you know, if someone's about to die and you click on them, it's not going to help unless you're right next to them. She has a right-click throwing knife that does minimal damage unless it headshots, in which case it does tons. So it's kind of a skill shot thing. They've been allowing healers to do a bit more damage, usually in like specialized ways recently, and I think Kiriko kind of exemplifies that in that she has a spammable attack that doesn't do too much unless you are very accurate. You're very able to peg someone jumping around while they're, you know, with a headshot. She has a teleport where she can teleport to a friendly, teleport to a teammate over a surprisingly long distance, which can go through walls, which is actually incredible. See this, the fight is already a total mess. Okay, we've all just fed. Let's get back. And she has that sort of like thing noise you might have just heard is she has a kind of grenade throw thing where she can damn it. All my stuff was on cooldown, couldn't save myself. Where she can give people a little bit of a heal, make them very briefly invulnerable, and purge any debuffs. It's very, very useful. There's not too much in terms of stun in Overwatch 2. They've generally scaled down on stuns they have had in the game. But oh my god. I should just be healing my D.Va instead of trying to contribute damage, I think. Never mind. Oh, that's a bit of a waste of an ult from them anyway. At least. Oh. That's on me, I should have paid attention. Notice how we're getting completely shut out. So I had one game where we got shut out, one game where we stomped, and another game where we are now currently in the process of getting shut out so far. Despite, you know, playing quite similar heroes on both sides. I think some of it might just be like the game's new, people's MMRs haven't been very well established yet, so the matchmaking's kind of skew-if. And some of it is that the game is new and people haven't learned how to play it yet, and so everyone's just kind of doing silly things and not running at the objective. There's probably also lots of actual new players who obviously can't be faulted for not knowing how Overwatch works, given they didn't play the first game. I'm just going to go and bully this sniper a little bit. Never mind, I messed my jump up. I have my ult though. Moira, I think, is a hero that's quite well suited to Overwatch 2 because she also has a teleport, like Kiriko. Hers doesn't jump to teammates or go through walls, but she can kind of dash rapidly and intangibly, which gives her an easy way to get in or out of dangerous situations and reach enemies that need support in an emergency. Oh my god. If we'd had a big shield that I was hiding behind, that probably wouldn't have happened. We got the point anyway, though. Which means I still have my ultimate. We didn't need it. I probably would have used it if the sniper hadn't taken me out, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise, maybe. Because this corner here is annoying to push up, so having a big old laser should help there. No, I'm good. I would like my team to stand in front of me somewhere. Oh no. Damn it! I used my teleport to get away from the sniper, and sort of positioned a bit weirdly, and then couldn't quite get out of the way of that. Again, using cooldowns, all part of the skill game, and I am in nowhere near good at Overwatch, despite my hour count. It's not like Dota where no one is good at it. It's not quite that hard, but it's still, you know, a reason. All right, screw this. We're gonna go for it. Let's just try and get some stuff cleared out. Oops. Ooh, what if I simply killed the sniper, then I don't have to play around it? That seems like a good idea. It's definitely the most balanced match we've had so far, in that both teams have done stuff at various points. I need to deal some damage to charge up my healing spray. Oh. Hey, we got the point. Go us. Go away, Widowmaker. Oh, you want to stand on the ground? Oh, never mind. They got launched far away. There we go, that'll do it. Right, now the toughest bit of the map. Final approach. So another thing that Overwatch 2 has done is the maps are vastly more nuanced than they were in Overwatch 1. So far, I think we've played one Overwatch 2 map, which was the first one, which was a bit of a stomp anyway. We're yet to play the new game mode, Push, which is sort of like a two-directional payload. There's like a robot that teams can control, and when you control the robot, it sort of stomps towards... it sort of stomps towards their side of the map, and when it runs into these, like... There's like a big barrier-looking thing, and it will push the barrier, and you have to push your barrier all the way to the end before they do the same to you. Hey, we got there. And it's very good. The maps are much more twisty, with lots of shortcuts and ways around, so it plays well with the... Oh, I thought that was me for a second. It was the other one. I was using the same skin. It plays better with the kind of scrappy, more mobile, frantic nature of Overwatch 2. And it makes the map less about just walk forward through the choke point, walk forward through the choke point. Like that map that we just played. There's loads of spots in that where defenders will, set up behind their shields and make a little formation and try and stop you from getting through the choke point. And if that doesn't work, they'll respawn or fall back to the next one, and they'll make a defensive position, and they'll try and stop you getting through the choke point. Very tedious. When you've done it enough, like... I mentioned earlier that Overwatch 1 always had some problems, and I think, although it's easy to be nostalgic for the launch, where like no one knew what they were doing, everything was fresh, and you could play 6 Winstons on a team and it was hilarious. Broadly speaking, it is much better that now you have to have, 2 DPS, 2 supports, 1 tank on the team instead of everyone just playing whatever, because people always play like 4 DPS heroes and the game was like this was. Like, just a bad version of what we have now, where you couldn't form battle lines at all, even though you were supposed to, because everyone was just playing like backlinery damage heroes and you didn't have enough presence on the point or ability to sustain. Now at least that type of player is confined to no more than 2 slots on your team. Oh, here we go. Here's a push map, so you'll see how this works now. I'm also finally playing Kiriko. Now, I will say Kiriko's actual mechanical design is cool. Kiriko's character design, I think, betrays Blizzard's Blizzardiness quite heavily in that... So Kiriko is the 3rd Japanese character in this game. The first 2 Japanese characters were ninjas with mystical powers who didn't use guns, and had some deep connection to like a spirit. I think Ryan's going the wrong way. Kiriko is a ninja who doesn't use guns and has mystical powers and a deep connection to a spirit. Also, she looks like a teenager from a DreamWorks movie, instead of like a human being. It's genuinely really disappointing. I'm going to die. Because, Blizzard have managed to make some reasonably imaginative or humanized characters, like Zarya, for instance, who I believe was designed in response to critique of this nature during the first beta. We need to regroup very badly, although maybe we can kill this Sigma, because he's kind of overextended. Ow. How did I dodge that? I swear that hit me. Alright, everyone's here, I think. Oh, we killed something. That's good. Ryan, just run at them. Your shield is nearly broken. Get in there. Get in there, my friend. I really shouldn't frontline as a support. I'm terrible for this. I play... because I've spent like 1,300 hours of Dota 2 frontlining and initiating. I play mostly tanks in Overwatch. And also want to encourage people to go in. Oh, that's lovely. Now we're talking. Oh, that was a wasted ultimate. Damn. I thought we'd need it, but Sigma's ultimate failed. You'll notice that I'm not really hitting anything with the with my right-click throwing knives. That is because I am terrible at aiming. This teleport is actually one of the cooler abilities in the game, I think. Like, it's a really nice idea, and it plays very well too, being able to jump to your mates through walls to save them, or to get out of dodge. Like, you know, turning around and hiding through a backline spot, or even just to get to the fight after you've died. Respawn faster. This Ryan is probably not going to die with 2 people pocketing him, but I probably need to get rid of the Zenyatta so that Ryan stops having that little purple orb on him, because it makes him take more damage. I'm zoned out. I'm dead. Come on. Oh. Nearly got in range from the teleport, but not quite. Yeah, I think Kiriko is a very, again, mechanically, not in terms of the actual, oops, wrong one. In terms of the actual character, I think she's quite an advanced design. Like, a lot of the elements of Overwatch 2, like the new map design push, the way it plays generally. We are going to lose if we go in. Reinhardt, you need to back out. I need to back out. Oh, okay. Maybe we can make this happen. Never mind. Ryan's died. What we're doing right now, this is called trickling, and it's the easiest way to lose games of Overwatch. 1 or 2. It's where you go in with less than your entire team. One of the things I think is a weakness of the Overwatch design that Dota doesn't have. One of the reasons, oh god, one of the reasons I like Dota so much is that in Overwatch, if there's ever fewer than everybody in a place, it's really, really bad. Like, you just shouldn't ever do that. Whereas in Dota, it's like committing all of your team to one place is a choice you can make, but it's a choice. You have the option to spread out and do other things around the map. In big 5v5 fights, obviously you want everyone to be there, but... Oh my goodness. I didn't know where he was. I lost track. Let's see the range on this teleport. My team are very far away. I should be able to grab onto some... Oh, goodness. Nope, they are running away from me as fast as I'm running towards them. I think by the time I get there, they will all be dead. Yep. Yeah, well done, Ryan. Excuse me. Where's she going? Come here. Stop. You stop right there. Oi, knock it off. Ryan's not here. We're going to lose this fight. We need the tank. Oh, never mind. That's another minute and a half we lose without all of us in the fight. If you decide to pick up Overwatch, and you take anything from this video, regardless of whether you agree with my opinions on the playstyle or not, it is this. Play with your team and stand on the point. The 2 most important fundamentals of Overwatch, regardless of which edition you're playing. I'm going to go and hide, because otherwise that soldier ult is going to kill me. Okay, well, they've committed a Genji ult, a soldier right now, a Roadhog ult. Goodness me. Oh, Ryan White, no. Maybe that was a misclick. He just charged out heedlessly. Oh, no, they're back. They got rest. Again, there with this Roadhog, but... ooh, go on, Genji. You can do it. Hey, nice. I got a kill. Oh yeah, did I mention the third mystical ninja with spirit affiliations is related to the other two as well? It's like, look, I'm no expert on Japan, Japanese culture, or anything like that, but like, I'm pretty sure they just didn't speak to any Japanese people at all, except maybe the voice actor while they were hiring this. While I was making this character, holy moly, I'm just going to ult before I die. I somehow lived. Alright, I'll take it. Ah, you missed. I might just kill this Roadhog the way things are going. Oh, never mind, they're on full HP again. Such is... I swear this hero is just like impossible to kill in this game. There we go. Alright, we finally get somewhere. That was a good fight. We grouped up and we took it. Now we have to push the robot very, very far. So the thing I like about this mode is that you can't undo your enemy's progress. And the more progress that you've made, the longer it takes for the enemy team to get back to their little thing to push after the fight. So we're controlling the robot at the moment, but the enemy team have already respawned to come to fight us. So their early progress, those fights they won in the early on, have been rewarded. But then, like, so were ours. Right? We won the first couple fights. So we still got halfway there. We need to go this way. Okay. Well, I stalled the robot for a second and died for it. Where on earth did everybody else go? So this is my problem. I always like, I'm going to go in first and hope everyone follows me, and they just don't. Which is not necessarily their fault. It's not easy to notice. Right. They are about to win. At least they have to come towards us for it. I didn't mean to do that. You know what? Maybe some of my role can be encourage Roadhog to hook me, and then hope they miss. I do like this from the right, I think. Oh, never mind, he's going to die. But maybe our soldier can clean up with the ult. Oh, Ryan's fine, actually. Ryan's fine. And we have the res from Mercy. This is good, actually. Oh, damn it. I tried to ult and then throw my little grenade thing to protect the Genji. That low health hero that just died there in the clip. But didn't quite get there in time. Right, I am going to have to wrap this video up soon because my friends are calling me. Oh, goodness me. Or I could just feed. That's also a way to end the game. Oh, there it is. Oh well. At least I have a cool teleport. Hope you got to see that. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how this shakes out once everyone's gotten their hands on, you know, map designs and learn how to play the new heroes and all this stuff. Like, there's going to be an eventual, you know, process of the community learning the game overall, not just individuals practicing. Obviously, I'm going to get better at it as well as I play, but over time, excuse me, the community will improve. Oh yeah, there's a battle pass. The battle pass sucks. Right, let's cancel that. Nope, I said cancel that. So overall, I think the decisions the Overwatch team have made in transitioning to Overwatch 2 kind of break down along, if you wanted to put them into camps of good and bad. I think getting rid of Overwatch 1, I understand why they've done it, because they don't want to fracture the player base, right? Because if you have some people playing Overwatch 1 or still playing Overwatch 1 and then a few people playing Overwatch 2, it'll just die. So it makes sense, and it's nice that they found a way to get everybody on Overwatch 2 for free. It's unfortunate that they did that by going through the trappings of a free-to-play game. And it's sad that they couldn't find a way to do what they did before, what they were proposing on doing, where people would buy Overwatch 2 for the improved UI, maybe, I don't know, new skins or something, maybe there's Overwatch 2 exclusive cosmetics, and the PvE content, right? It's big and extensive. They are making it at some point, but it's not out yet. It's still in development. It's a shame that they didn't go with that model, where you could still play Overwatch 1 and not have to deal with battle passes, not having to deal with unlocking heroes. The Kiriko is available to everybody who owned Overwatch 1, but future heroes are going to be locked quite far behind the battle pass. Like, it'll take you a while to grind it. It's possible that they'll become available after, a season transition or something. Like, once the battle pass is over, then there's a new one. The hero will become available anyway. But I feel like it is a shame that we've lost that possibility. I also, on the flip side, I think the changes to the actual gameplay are very good. I think the issue with Overwatch 1, I mentioned it being like World of Warcraft, and that's kind of not really an easy way to balance a first-person shooter, because in FPSs, there are lots of characters that can kill you in one hit. And so, because those characters existed, but shields also existed, shields are the counterbalance to them, right? And walls, to a lesser extent, just hiding. But I always felt that it was awkward trying to play as a tank in that situation where characters can kill you in, okay, not one hit, but like 2 or 3. You can get bursted down very easily. But on the flip side, trying to do stuff through shields can be very frustrating. Like double shield tank compositions, intensely frustrating to play into sometimes, because you just couldn't do anything. There's a first-person shooter, and you couldn't shoot. What else is there? So they made heroes to try and counter it, but it didn't really work out, especially at the pro level, where tanks were the most powerful. Like, at my level, it was hard for me to play into the lots of DPS. But the reason they eventually put in role queue, where you have to play 2 tank, 2 support, and 2 DPS, and now 1 tank, 2 or 2, is because in the pro scene they were playing 3 tank, 3 support, no DPS. That's the way around it was with the shields and the larger health pools and tank's ability to take space while still dealing damage. That was just better. And the healers had powerful cooldowns and good mobility, and obviously could sustain the tanks. So it was completely the opposite from the pro scene and the ladder, but the solution ended up being the same. So I think what they've done in Overwatch 2, by removing the double tank entirely, greatly reducing the impact of shields, but also adding a bunch more mobility and making the tanks way more powerful. Like, you can play as a tank, you can run into the enemy. Yes, you'll die, but if you're getting healed, you probably won't. Like, a tank with 2 supports paying attention to them is unkillable in Overwatch 2, and it is actually quite exciting. It feels like Roadhog is actively scary. Before, he was just, hey, some free ult charge. But Roadhog in Overwatch 2 is scary, because he just doesn't die. And that's intimidating of its own. Junker Queen is similar. Like, you have to burst her down, anti-heal her, corner her. You saw that game where I played Junker Queen. I went 18-0 or something. 15-0. Didn't die. Sustaining myself. Yeah, I was getting heals, obviously, as well. But as long as I'm with my team, so I'm not just getting completely focused, and I'm not engaging lots of enemies at once, I can just keep going. Keep sustaining myself. It's very cool. The thing that I want them to change now is the game is this weird mix of old and new. We've got new heroes like the reworked Orisa, Junker Queen, Kiriko, that are like this kind of quite complex, highly mobile, nuanced, cooldown reliant heroes. And some of those existed in Overwatch 1 as well, but not to the same extent. And then we've got these new maps that are very intricate, full of lots of different routes. There's many ways to solve the problem and shortcuts to get you back to the fight when you're respawning. Like the map we just did, the push map, it's kind of a big zigzag, and you can go through the middle or through the high ground to get to the fighting faster. no matter where you respawn. So I think now we've got all these maps that are like, go and stand here, then go and stand here. And there's like no cover, no real alternate routes, especially if you're not playing DPS. And it just ends up being a battle of attrition, which previously you'd win with shields, or try to win with shields. And you would position yourself to try and protect your team with shields so you can approach. And then, you get close enough, the brawl breaks out in earnest. It's much easier for people to get shut out by just spam damage now, I find. And I think once people get used to the maps, you start going round, taking flanks, grouping up and positioning in odd places to take the enemy by surprise. I think that's how you're meant to approach that now. Much more like an FPS or a MOBA. Because you do that in MOBAs all the time. If you just run at the enemy, they're prepared, they're probably going to kill you unless you're unless you're very far ahead in the game. Overwatch doesn't have that snowball ability where you can get more XP and gold than your enemy and use that to win instead. Everyone's on an equal footing almost all the time outside of ultimates. So if you just run at the enemy, they're probably gonna, and they're in a defensive position, set up, they have cover, they're probably gonna win. So I would like to see some of the maps updated to reflect the new reality. I want to see new paths. I want to see fewer just boxy open areas that can only really be crossed with shields, fewer traditional choke points. And I want to see more warrens and more heroes that are suited to that playstyle as well. I want to see reworks of the old heroes. There are certain heroes that just feel very strange. The new Doomfist, he's a tank now, but he's just kind of naff without his signature kit. Like he was kind of a ganky one-hit kill DPS, and now he's just kind of not anything. I think Junkrat could use some relevance in the new environment. Maybe Pharah is alright. Pharah's hard to deal with because she flies, but I'm just kind of interested in seeing like some of the older supports. Reinhardt feels a bit odd now. Mercy, I think, as well. Like some of the DPS heroes as well are just sort of meant to stand behind a shield and go pew pew pew. Like Soldier 76, I think, is doing fine. Maybe Cassidy, Cowboy. He sort of. There are a lot of heroes that just stand and shoot, tons of them. And you can't really remove heroes from the game without upsetting players, but I'd like to see them differentiated more. Like, you can rework Ashe. Ashe, in her current form, adds nothing unique to the game. Even Soldier, in the new DPS hero, she's just slightly different, Soldier 76. I want to see more variety there as well, I think. More cool stuff to do and more things that aren't just stand still, shoot heads. Or previously, stand behind a shield and shoot heads. But overall, I actually really like Overwatch 2. I think playing tank is much more fun than before. Even though there's only one of you, so you can't do cool tank duo things, you just feel overpowered because you are. Like, tanks are overpowered on purpose, and I love it. It turns out the solution all along was just 200 more HP. And more ability to get in the enemy's face and mess them up, which is super, super fun. Like, Reinhardt was my favorite hero before because he has lots of health because of the shield and can get in the enemy's face and mess them up. Probably my favorite tank hero to play. Junker Queen is like that, but much more fun, more technical. Ryan's a very hard hero to play, but he's more strategic than technical. Junker Queen has, more cooldowns, more things going on, buttons to press. So I'm kind of excited for the direction of where the game design goes, but I think we're not there yet. I think there's a lot of old stuff that needs updating, hopefully will be updated over time, or at least balanced, and rough edges that could be sanded. The game's not imbalanced, but I think it needs a bit of polish on some of the older stuff that needs bringing up to scratch. But overall, I think it's a very interesting change in design philosophy that I think has actually successfully handled some of the issues that were in Overwatch 1 the entire time, but didn't come out until the game had been played by, iterated on by the player base for years. Right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you've been playing in Overwatch 2 or what you think of it, what you think of my opinions, as ever, and I'll see you next time.